Okay, so Dan Henry has made over 40 million coaching in the most saturated and competitive market. And Dan did all of that without having a sales team. So in this video, there are three parts of the process which I'm going to be breaking down. The first is his offer and his unique positioning, which he has used to stand out in this very saturated market. The second is his traffic, his top of funnel, and which offers he's promoting to people at different awareness stages. And lastly, we look at his sales funnel, which he has used to generate a large sum of his 40 million in coaching. And if you have an online service business, this video is going to be extremely valuable to see what businesses are doing at the top level of the industry. And all of these strategies are going to be replicable, and you can copy him even if you make less than 100K per month. So let's just dive straight into it. So Dan has quite a unique positioning, and Dan is in a very crowded market because at the core, Dan is selling marketing. And marketing is one of the most saturated niches, so he needs to have something unique to stand out, because otherwise he will just blend in. So what Dan has done is that he has niched down his offer to essentially become a market of one. So one level deeper of marketing would be branding, but that's still way too vague. And then one level deeper would be personal branding, but there are still way too many people selling personal branding out there. So Dan has went even one level deeper to find his unique value zone, which is personal branding for online experts who are their industry's best kept secret. So he's helping online coaches and consultants who are very good at their job, who have a lot of expertise, but people just don't know them. And now that he has his unique value zone, he essentially competes in a market of one. So let's go and look at his top of funnel, and I like to split it up to three distinct sections. So the top of funnel, the mid top of funnel, and bottom top of funnel. And what Dan has in his top of funnel is his Instagram profile, and pretty standard talking head videos that are meant to go viral and attract people who haven't seen Dan before, who see him for the first time, and who haven't spent any time with him before. And then one level deeper in his mid top of funnel, these are people who have seen Dan before, and he will post a bit more in-depth videos, and most of his YouTube videos also land in this category, and these are people who have spent a few hours with them before. And then at the bottom, we have people who have seen Dan before, who have spent multiple hours with him, and here he has much more in-depth videos like this one right here, where we help someone create a 82K per month business. And depending on where people are, you need to have a vastly different offer. You need to have free value offers for cold traffic. And Dan Henry has a free workshop for people who haven't seen him before. So if you look at his top of funnel, you see, for example, in this video, his CTA is to comment brand to attend his free workshop. But then you also don't want to beat around the bush. No, you want to send your warmer traffic straight to your main high ticket offer, because that's eventually where you want everyone to go. So at the bottom, for example, in this video, Dan Henry sends everyone to his main high ticket offer. So it's important to know in what category your videos land so to promote the right offer in the right places. So now let's go and look at his sales funnel, which he has used to generate a bulk amount of his $40 million. And as I just showed you, he has videos at three different awareness stages. So at the top, he has videos that are meant to go viral. For example, this video where he's in a restaurant drawing on a napkin, and this will attract new people to his brand that haven't seen him before. And every single time he has a video that's meant for new people, for new traffic, the CTA is every single time to his free workshop, which I will break down later on. And then at the mid funnel, where he has more in-depth content, there he has a CTA to go and watch a YouTube video. And then at the bottom, where he has more authentic talking videos, he has a CTA straight to apply to work with him. And everything comes down to how well you know, like, and trust Dan Henry. The less you know him, the more he needs to nurture you with his sales funnel. And that's why he sends the coldest top of funnel people to his workshop, and then a bit more warm people, the mid funnel people, to his YouTube channel, and then the warmest people he guides directly to go and work with him. So let's take a closer look at how his funnel actually works. So in his videos, he has a CTA to comment a keyword, for example, brand in this video. And when you comment the keyword, you will usually receive something for free. And these comment a keyword CTAs are the highest converting on Instagram. And that's because people don't have to leave the video to take action. It's very easy to comment and receive your free lead magnet. And then when you comment the keyword, he will send you a DM. And in the DMs, he says, thanks for reaching out. Just to be clear, are you here just for free content, or are you looking to invest in help, if it makes sense? And this is a filter question to guide the conversation towards his high ticket offer. And this DM is instantaneous after someone comments a keyword. It's a classic ManyChat automation. And if you say that you are just here for free content, well, then he will just guide you to whatever you opted in for. So if it was for a YouTube video, he guides to YouTube. And if it was for the free workshop, he guides you to his automated webinar, which I will cover very soon. But if you say that you're looking to invest for help, Then he will hold a conversation with you and ask his qualification questions. Then his closer will actually look up your IG, and then he will reach out if you are qualified. And if you are qualified and still want to work with him, he will close you through the conversation. And every time, if you have a conversation with someone, you want to ask the qualification questions there and then in the conversation, in the DMs, instead of pushing them to your qualification form. And then you just want to send the calendar link to people because that reduces friction. And the only way to close high ticket through DMs is to have enough brand authority and trust built up. So if you don't have those in place, it's going to be very, very hard to close someone in the DMs. And Dan knows this. He would get more sales by having sales calls, but Dan would rather have a lower conversion rate than having to manage an entire sales team. And then when you look at his YouTube, he has videos for people at different awareness stages. He has videos that are top of funnel content, for example this one, where he roasts his mom's online marketing strategy. And because it's a top of funnel content, his CTA is to his free workshop, as you see here in his description. But he also has mid to bottom of funnel content, as you saw, where he helps business owner. And because it's mid to bottom funnel content, he can also have a CTA to his main high ticket offer in his description, as you see right here, and that then goes to his main high ticket here. So he can essentially skip an entire step of his funnel because his YouTube videos have nurtured people so much. And I will break down this high ticket offer more in depth later on in the video. But then most of his traffic he sends to his free workshop, and that's an automated webinar, and this is a standard structure of it. So it all starts with an opt-in page that then goes to the opt-in form where you register for the event. And after the opt-in form, he sends people to a one-time offer page where he has a low-ticket digital product. And on this page, you can either buy it or decline it. But after that, you go to his thank you page where he has a questionnaire to get more information about all of his leads. And he will use people's answers to this form later on when his setters and closers reach out to people trying to close them. And then he also has a button on the thank you page to add the event to your calendar so you don't miss it. And also, after you opt in, he will put you to a pre-event sequence. And the purpose of this email sequence is to send reminders so people remember the event, and also to nurture you, to handle his most common objections and people's limiting beliefs before the event, so they are already 50% pre-sold before the main event. And then he has his event with intro, value, Q&A, and offer. And after the event, he guides people to a qualification form. And after that, his closers will reach out to people using the info form. And that's how he gets his clients from his webinar. But Dan hasn't chosen a generic webinar topic. As you already saw before, he's essentially selling marketing. And he can't sell branding either, or personal branding. His unique value zone is personal branding for online experts who are the industry's best kept secret. But for his webinar, he has added an additional wrap to his unique value zone, which is the true story of a pizza delivery guy who built a $40 million business from social media without all the downsides. And I will show the downsides later on. And the reason again is because marketing is a very crowded market. He needs something unique to stand out. And this is what his opt-in page then looks like. So at the top, he has a timer that builds urgency and says that it's a live event, a live workshop, because a live event is much more valuable, but in reality, it is automated. And then he has a large headline. He has colored the most important part of the headline, and he immediately removes the pain point, which is that people don't want to go viral. And then he has a sub-headline that gives further context. He says it has worked for a lot of other people before, and again, he removes all negative assumptions. He says, without fame, without fancy equipment, and without dancing on TikTok. And these are objections that Dan has realized that people have from talking to his clients, from talking to prospects, from his sales call transcripts. So a quick tip for you is that you want to always record your sales calls, and then you want to feed your sales call transcripts to AI, Claude, Gemini, ChatGPT, and use that to extract all your prospects' pain points, and then you want to handle all their objections and pain points here in your subheadline. And then Dan clearly states that the event is free. You see here he says it's a free training, and he has clear bullet points right here of what will be covered during the workshop. And these bullet points include people's biggest pain points, which are you don't have to stare at a blank screen, as you see here. It handles all the negative assumptions. You don't need to be different. And then he also has a contrarian take that posting good content is killing your brand. And then he also promises to show proof that has worked for other people in boring niches before, and the only thing they changed was the brand. Then he also has a hero section that introduces who Dan Henry is. That's because this workshop is designed for cold prospects, for cold traffic who don't know who Dan is. So that's why he needs to introduce himself. And he has bullet points proving his expertise and authority in the market. Then he has his CTA button, obviously, and a timer to increase urgency. And the button also says secure my seat, which indicates there's a lot of demand and that seats are limited. And then he has one final catchphrase that says you already have everything you need, you only need brand, and that plays back into his positioning, which is that he helps people that are their industry's best kept secret. And then after his opt-in page, it will open up a pop-up form where people will put their name and their email and then they can sign up for his event. But one thing he could try is having the opt-in form on the opt-in page, and that might increase conversions because people are usually quite scared of things they can't see. So on this opt-in page, they can't see the opt-in form. And for some reason, people are scared of the unknown. So if he had these boxes, name, email, already on this page right here, that would probably increase his conversions. But yeah, that's something he could try. But then after the opt-in pop-up, he has a one-time offer. And good things to know about the one-time offer is that their entire purpose is to increase your average order value, to get as much money upfront from each sign-up. And this is very important if you run ads to your event, because then you could offset a large portion of your ad spend even before the event has started. And it's important that the one-time offer goes with the event. So Dan's one-time offer is actually a swipe file of persuasion tactics which suit the theme of his workshop, which is all about personal branding. You need to always think, what would they want next? So these people sign up for his personal branding event, and Dan has then thought, what do they want after they have a personal brand? Well, they will need to persuade their audience to actually get people to buy their offer. And this one-time offer is a digital product which has instant delivery and is 100% pure margins. So what Dan has done is that he has used something called brand leveraging. He has used Tony Robbins' brand to borrow trust and credibility. So this workshop is for cold traffic. It's for people who don't know him, who don't like Dan, and who don't trust him yet. But they know who Tony Robbins is. They know how good he is on stage and how persuasive he is. So this makes people much more likely to buy his one-time offer because they buy Tony Robbins tactics, not Dan Henry's, who they don't know yet. So on this one-time offer page, up top he says, wait, do not close this page. He wants you to stay right here, and he builds fear by saying your registration isn't complete. And then he gamifies this process with a completion bar. And again, he has a clear and simple headline, and he has colored the most important part, Tony Robbins. And then again, it's a sub-headline that complements the headline. And it has clear instructions. Watch this short video to see how these tactics will multiply your results at the personal brand workshop. Then he has a short 2-minute VSL with, again, clear instructions here to watch the video. And instructions may seem too obvious, but almost always they will increase the likelihood that people do what you want them to do. So if you want people to watch a video, just tell them to do it. And in this VSL, his structure is that he congratulates you on signing up. He tells you it's a very smart decision. And after that, he asks you a question. How would you like to communicate like the world's best persuader? And he tells you how good Tony is, what he has achieved with his persuasion. And then he also says that his tactics are repeatable. If you just know what they are, you can also use them yourself. And then he showcases his swipe file, and at the end he has a call to action to buy them. Then he has his CTA button here below. He has made that button very large because he wants you to click it, obviously. He has made it very compelling. And then the button here below to decline his offer is very small and it's much less appealing. And then he has product visualization. He shows what the swipe file looks like, and this is very important if you sell digital products. Then he has, again, bullet points giving a sneak peek of what they will get. And then he handles his objections, again, here below. And then he explains his pricing, why it isn't free. He says it's not free. Free means you won't use it. But then he also says why it's not more expensive. And it's not $97. This isn't about the money. And that sets an anchor for the price. It makes it seem cheap. And then at the bottom, he has a guarantee for the more skeptical people. But then after his one-time offer, you will go to his thank you page, where he confirms your seat for the workshop, and he uses it to frame the next step. He says, now let's make sure you're ready to get the most out of it. And then he clearly says, do this now. And the first thing he wants you to do is to add the event to your calendar, and this is to increase his show up rate. And then the second step is to complete a short survey, and this is to get lead data before the event. And this does two things. It makes contacting leads more effective because you have personalized information about them, and you also know how many attendees to your event are qualified and how many are unqualified. So this is what the questionnaire looks like. It's a standard Google Forms, and from this form he gets detailed info about you and your business that he has disguised as a questionnaire. So in your mind you think it's a standard questionnaire, but his questions in here are very close to his qualification questions. As you see, he asks you to tell him about your business, how long have you been creating content, your current income, and so on. You will see that these are very close to his qualification questions later on. And then, until the webinar, he has his email sequence. And you also will get added to his email list, where you will receive emails also after the event. And the goal of the email sequence is to maximize show up rate, adding the event to your calendar, saving Zoom link, and also just event date reminders. It's also to increase buying readiness, build trust, handle common objections, and overcome limiting beliefs, and also to qualify the right audience, build curiosity, get them serious, and set expectations. So first he will send you a confirmation, and here he confirms your event seat. He tells you what you will receive during the event, then he says when the event is, the time, and then here he has the next steps of what you should do. Save the Zoom link, add the event to your calendar, and fill out the pre-event form. And then right here in this section, he's pushing people to watch his pre-selected videos to build trust, handle objections, and overcome limiting beliefs. He does this by saying, if you're anything like me, you want to have an edge over everyone else at the workshop, that he has put together a little doc of his best content, his best videos, and then he has a link to the doc with the videos right here. And then this last section right here guides people back to his one-time offer if they still want to go back and buy it. So this is what the Google Doc actually then looks like. And at the top, again, he congratulates people on signing up with a very positive tone. And then he frames the videos below as preparation for the event. But in reality, it's all to warm people up and increase their buying likelihood. And this all stems from Google's 7-11-4 rule. And what this rule says is that on average, it takes around 7 hours of exposure to turn someone from a stranger to a client. And his webinar is around 3 hours, and most people who come to the event haven't consumed a lot of Dan's content before. So what Dan is trying to do is that he's trying to get people to watch multiple videos, long form content before the event, so that they get closer and closer and closer to the 7 hours, and that will increase people's likelihood to buy it, because they will know him, like him, and trust him more. So these first videos right here handle the objection of, will it work for me or my industry? As you see, these videos right here are Dan helping other coaches that are like you. People will see how Dan is able to help them, they get excited for the event, and they also get a taste of his value and his expertise. And then these next videos prove his expertise about personal branding, which the event is about. And then the next videos show his journey, and this video gets people to know him, and it builds authenticity. And then the next video gives more value, demonstrates his expertise, and builds trust. Then he also has social proof within the doc. People can go to his testimonials, he has client reviews, and then he also borrows trust from well-known figures in his market, in his niche. For example, here, you can read what Russell Brunson, the founder of ClickFunnels, has said about Dan Henry. And then he also sets the frame for the workshop. But let's get back to his email sequence. After the confirmation, people will get obviously reminders. This reminder is 60 minutes before the event. And then he also sends one last email when the workshop is live. And this is the structure of the workshop. And as I said, it's an automated webinar. It runs every 24 hours. And it all starts off with the introduction to the event, what the event is about, what he will go over later on, and so on. And this takes around 10 minutes. Then he goes over his backstory, because this event, again, is for people who don't know Dan, who don't know him. And this also takes around 10 minutes. And then he goes over his topic number 1, which is why you don't need to be different to win. And this takes around 30 minutes. Then he goes over his second topic, which is why posting good content is killing your brand. And then he goes over his last topic, which is never having to stare at a blank screen again. And all of these topics take around 30 minutes. And then at the end, he has a stack and close, which takes around 20 minutes. And after that, he has a Q&A. And obviously, it's not live, so it's not a normal Q&A, but he goes over common questions, common problems, common struggles, and he answers them. And this takes around 15 minutes. And then this webinar then goes to his high-ticket consulting offer. And this is what his application page looks like. And right here, he has a unique value proposition, and it ties it back to his unique value zone, which is that he helps people that are their industry's best kept secret. And then he has a large hero image, and he should probably have a short 2 to 6 minute VSL on this page right here. It would increase his conversion rate on this page, but because this is very bottom of funnel, people know, like, and trust Dan at this stage, so it's not such a big deal, but a VSL will probably still increase his conversions by a little bit. And then right here, he has his qualification form, and it starts off with your name. Then he asks your contact information, so name, email, and phone number. Then he asks for your IG handle, and that's so that his closers can look you up to see who you are, what type of business you run, and so on. Then he asks about your offer. Do you currently have an offer? If so, what do you sell? If not, what is your idea? Then he asks your sales per month. Where are your sales right now for this offer? Then he asks about your monthly profit. Then what is your goal? Where do you want your sales to be upon completion of this program to be satisfied? Then he asks your biggest core challenge that you want Dan to help you with. Then the next question is about your readiness to pay. If you feel working with us is a fit, would you be willing and able to invest? It's very important to also have readiness questions in your qualification form. So not only qualification questions, but also questions that point out people's readiness to pay so that you don't waste your time on sales calls. And lastly, he asks why. Dan Henry and his clients have generated over 100 million in revenue online. But why do you want to work with Dan? And then after that, he will push people to his thank you page, where he says that your application is received and that they are going to reach out to you soon. And this is not a normal thank you page. On a normal thank you page, you congratulate people on booking a call, you want people to confirm their call, you want people to watch a video before the call. And the simple reason is that Dan Henry doesn't run sales calls. He doesn't have a sales team, and that's why he doesn't need to have a standard thank you page. So what he does is that these applications will come to his sales CRM, and then his setters or his closers will review your application, they will look up your IG, and if you are qualified, they will start a conversation with you, they will reach out, and then if you still want to work with him, they will then close you from the conversations. And again, he would close more clients if you ran sales calls, but Dan Henry would rather lose out on a bit of sales than manage a big sales team. That's a compromise that he's willing to take. And this is Dan Henry's exact sales funnel. So if you have any more questions, I will leave my Instagram in the description below. So feel free to shoot me a DM and I will be more than happy to help you out. See you in the next one.